At 3:30 on Friday afternoon, I was eagerly awaiting the weekend. At 48, I was about to experience one of the best days of my life, marrying the woman I considered the most beautiful in the world. Jane, being traditional, stayed with a friend the night before, believing it was bad luck for me to see her. As I was heading to my home office to finalize wedding details, I heard her key in the door. "Forgot something, Scatterbrain?" I called, coming down the stairs. At the bottom, I froze. She stood there with a Mediterranean tan, wearing an expensive suit, smiling and rushing toward me. "Kevin, I'm back," she said, rushing towards me. I turned my cheek to avoid her kiss and pushed her away. "What are you doing here?" I demanded. "Kevin, don't talk to your wife like that. This is my home," she replied, her voice firm. "First, you're not my wife. Second, this isn't your home." I shot back, my tone cold. I walked to the lounge and called the police. "This is Kevin Bryant." "Yes, she's back. My ex-wife, Lisa. She's here now. Send someone quickly," I said into the phone. "Who was that?" she asked, a hint of nervousness in her voice. "Detective Inspector Maynard of the local police," I responded calmly. "But I haven't done anything wrong," she protested. "Maybe not, but they think I have," I replied. Then I called my son Elliot and told him the same. "Why don't you sit down, Lisa? Some people want to talk to you," I said, gesturing to a chair. I hadn't seen Lisa in 6 years, though it felt longer. She had left a note with her bank cards, saying she was leaving to find her true destiny and asking me not to look for her. We had been sweethearts since high school. I joked I'd be a millionaire by 30. I went to Manchester University for electronics, met many girls, but Lisa was the one. She told boys she was waiting for her millionaire. During breaks, I worked, but always spent time with her. After finals, Lisa revealed she was pregnant. I thought we were careful, but accidents happen. We married, and I graduated with first-class honors. I chose a small company over a big one, and we moved to Somerset. I joined Danvers Electronics, attracted by the owner Bob and the opportunity to advance quickly. Bob was supportive, helping us settle and paying rent. My first salaries went to furnishing our place and preparing for Elliot's arrival. Lisa regained her figure quickly after childbirth, looking even better than before with her chestnut hair and blue eyes. We soon outgrew the apartment and started looking for a house. Bob helped again, convincing me that renting was a waste and I should buy a house. I only had half the deposit, so Bob loaned me the rest. It wasn't pure generosity. He knew I could get a better deal and that buying a house would keep me in the area. Over time, things got easier. I wanted more kids, but it didn't happen. When the chief designer retired, Bob decided to restructure, merging design and development under one leader. My heart sank when he asked me to meet the new manager. He led me to his office, which was empty, and then into his ensuite bathroom. Facing the mirror, he said, "Kevin, meet the new design and development manager." There were no applications or interviews. I got the job on the spot. Bob insisted, "You better take it. I've based this restructure on you." "Are you sure, Bob? I was hoping for the design job, but are you sure about me running both departments?" "I was sure from your first month here. I did my research before hiring you. You and Lisa may think I'm a benevolent fool, but I'm a businessman and you're good for business." The new position came with a significant raise. Knowing Lisa's spending habits, I arranged with Bob to divert 10% of my salary to a savings account. Lisa saw an increase, but this gave us a buffer for emergencies. My department's drive to diversify led to more defense work, and I filed a couple of patents for cheaper, better solutions. We licensed our patents to competitors, earning royalties. Bob insisted I take a percentage as an annual bonus, which I used to pay off the mortgage. We were doing well. By 30, we owned a house in the country, had 2 cars, and enjoyed a good standard of living. When I mentioned this to Lisa, she reminded me, "You always said you'd be a millionaire by now." She hadn't realized it was a joke. Despite her disappointment, our life was good, and we were comfortably well off. Our bed life was good but routine, and we had an active social life. The only major disagreement was over Elliot's education. Lisa wanted him in private school, while I thought public school was sufficient. "Maybe if you went to private school, you'd be a millionaire now instead of working for a small electronics company," Lisa said pointedly. "It's that company that allows us to have this discussion. Without it, we wouldn't have the income to even consider it," I replied, trying to stay calm. "So you admit we can afford it. If you loved our son, you'd give him every advantage," she countered sharply. In the end, Lisa won, and Elliot went to Kingswood as a day pupil. It cost $6,000 a year, but gave me peace of mind. I thought it was money not spent on shoes and clothes. The worst part wasn't the fees, but socializing with the other parents. Lisa befriended stockbrokers, bankers, and investment analysts. None worked in manufacturing. By Elliot's second year, We were invited to dinner parties. I tried to get along, but often found myself biting my tongue. This was when the real trouble began. Lisa really admired these people, but I saw them as parasites living off others' work. "I see you've remodeled the garden," Lisa said, looking out. "Yes, after 30 policemen and 2 diggers left it a mess, it was easier to start over," I replied. "Policemen and diggers? Why were they here?" she asked, confused. "Looking for you," I said bluntly. Just then, the doorbell rang. It was Detective Inspector Maynard and WPC Cavendish. I invited them in and introduced them to Lisa. "Did you really dig up my garden, Inspector?" Lisa asked, incredulous. "Yes, madam. Do you have any ID?" Inspector Maynard replied. Lisa handed over her passport. The inspector checked it against a photo, and WPC Cavendish noted the details. "Now, Mrs. Bryant, where have you been for the last 6 years?" Maynard asked. "Do we have to do this now? Can't I come to the station later?" Lisa pleaded. "We can take you now, but your husband deserves answers," Maynard insisted. "Kevin, I know you're angry I left, but this won't help," Lisa said, turning to me. "I'm not angry you left, Lisa. I'm angry you came back today," I almost shouted, then sat down by the window as it started to rain. "Mrs. Bryant, we've been trying to find you." "Where have you been?" Maynard pressed. "I didn't know you were looking. I told Kevin not to," Lisa replied. "He didn't. We did. So where have you been?" Maynard repeated. "First France, then Spain, Barbados, back to Spain, and now home," Lisa answered. "This is not your home," I said, but Maynard cut in. "Mr. Bryant, please stay quiet. Mrs. Bryant, you say you traveled but weren't on any passenger lists. How did you leave?" Maynard inquired. "A friend flew me from Farnborough to Nice," Lisa explained. I tuned out, staring at the rain. Our troubles began when Elliot started at Kingswood. Lisa wanted a lifestyle like the other parents, moving to Bath and vacationing in the south of France. I wanted to pay off the mortgage and save. Arguments followed, but we usually made up by bedtime. That changed after one dinner party. Henry, a guest and Elliot's friend's father, had too much wine and bragged about his hedge fund bonuses. He planned to buy a small GPS company in Farnborough with valuable land. The owner doesn't realize the land's worth millions more as residential property. He insists on selling the company to protect his workforce. "So what's your plan, Henry?" I asked. Henry smirked and leaned in. "We'll buy him out at a price he thinks is fair. Then we create a holding company and transfer all the land, including the factory, to it. The factory will pay rent to the holding company and license fees to produce their own products. We'll sell the factory cheap, but with rent and license fees, they'll never make a profit and default. Then we evict them and sell the land for housing, making 20 to 30 times our investment in 2 years. "And what about the workers?" I asked, my voice growing cold. "Every battle has casualties," Henry said dismissively. "All for your bonus, you blood-sucking idiot," I retorted. Henry swung at me, missed, and crashed into the table, breaking plates and covering himself in cake. Lisa came in, alarmed by the noise, and I told her we were leaving. That was my last dinner party. Lisa still attended them, often with other men. She denied it, but I knew the truth. On Monday, I told Bob about Henry's plan. We knew the company and devised a plan to help. Bob took over the factory, sold the excess land, and gave the owner a fair price, much more than Henry's hedge fund would have offered. A month later, Henry's anger surfaced. Lisa came home from a party furious. "You had to interfere, didn't you? You embarrassed me and ruined Henry's plan," she accused. Poor Henry. It's his bonus versus 100 jobs. "No contest," I said, unfazed. "Why make it difficult? I try to make friends and you insult them," she snapped. "He was destroying jobs like our fathers. Have you forgotten where you came from?" I challenged. "I don't want to go back," she admitted, her voice trembling. She was ashamed of me. I knew I wouldn't be a millionaire like Henry. Our bed life deteriorated. Lisa handled school matters and joined a fundraising committee, spending more time in Bath. I immersed myself in work and stayed out of the house as much as possible. That year, we vacationed in Juan-les-Pins for the jazz festival. I took Elliot out at night and Lisa paraded in front of the rich and famous. It was our last holiday together. The following year, I wanted to ski, but Lisa refused. Elliot enjoyed winter holidays with me and summer holidays with Lisa. Our lives diverged. I wasn't an ideal husband and didn't care what Lisa was doing. She had turned her back on me. By the time Elliot went to university, we were living separate lives, sharing only a bed. Elliot, influenced by Lisa, studied business. I was disappointed but accepted it. He joined a management consultancy in London after graduating. During these years, I heard rumors about Lisa's behavior. Even Bob Danvers mentioned it. My secretary made faces when Lisa called. I didn't know if she still loved me, but it was clear she had no respect for me. When I came home that night and found Lisa gone, I felt relief. Inspector Maynard didn't understand how she wouldn't know about the search. "It was in all the papers, and your husband was arrested," Maynard said, incredulous. Lisa looked at me, her eyes wide with surprise. "They arrested you?" "I'm so sorry, Kevin. I didn't expect that. I left a note," she explained. "Yes, but it was printed and unsigned. No one believed it," I replied. "Mrs. Bryant, I find it hard to believe you didn't know about the search. It was in all the newspapers and even covered by foreign media," Maynard pressed. "Inspector, I was abroad and didn't speak the language. I only saw TV news in French. I had no idea what was happening here," Lisa insisted. "And you didn't care," I added, bitterness in my voice. "You're right, Kevin. I didn't care. We hadn't been close for years. I didn't want to cause you trouble," she admitted. WPC Cavendish returned with a paper for the inspector. "Lisa, is that your Range Rover outside?" she asked. "Yes, why?" Lisa responded, suddenly wary. "The Spanish police are looking for it, and you, in connection with a death in Malaga," Cavendish said. "He died in the girl's room. It was a heart attack, not my fault," Lisa protested. "The Spanish police are annoyed you left while the case was open. I had to get away from those people." "You were right, Kevin. They just use people," she said, her voice softening. "Okay, Lisa, we're done here. We'd like you to come to the station to give a statement, but as far as I'm concerned, it's case closed," Maynard declared. I walked them to the door. Inspector Maynard offered his hand. "Thank you, Mr. Bryant, and good luck," he said. "Thank you, Inspector. Goodbye," I replied, shaking his hand. I watched them leave, feeling relieved. I did miss Lisa. The house felt empty, and even the arguments were gone. But at least she left her bank and credit cards, and I didn't have to worry about our money. She also left her Mini, which I was paying for. The next day, I took her name off our accounts and surrendered her cards. I didn't report her missing, as she had asked. 10 days later, Elliot called, upset. He insisted on involving the police and filed a missing person report. That's when I met Inspector Maynard, who questioned why I hadn't reported her missing. "Mr. Bryant, do you know where your wife might have gone or who she left with?" he asked. "I have no idea and don't care, Inspector," I replied. He wanted to know about our relationship, and I told him the truth. "Tell the truth and shame the devil," my mom always said. My admission that we were just two people sharing a house didn't help. 2 days later, the press was camped on my front lawn. They shouted questions as I left for work. In a meeting with Bob Danvers, Maynard showed up again. "Mr. Bryant, we have a warrant to search your house and car. I need you to accompany me." I handed over my keys. "Here are the keys. You'll find the car in the parking lot. Now, Inspector, Mr. Danvers and I have business to discuss." Maynard surprised me by handcuffing me. "Kevin Bryant, you're under arrest for the homicide of Lisa Bryant. You don't have to say anything, but it may damage your defense if you don't mention something you later rely on in court. Please stand and put your hands behind you." I did as instructed, and the other cuff was locked on my right wrist. I was led from the room, and Bob called out, "I'll call the company lawyer. Don't say anything until he arrives." For 2 days, I was held at the police station, enduring multiple interviews. Following Bob's advice, I refused to speak without my solicitor. After 2 days, Maynard sought more time to question me, but my solicitor challenged him to show evidence of a crime. With no evidence, I was released. The press was waiting outside, snapping photos as I left for a cab. When I arrived home, I found the house and garden cordoned off as a crime scene. The garden gate was off its hinges and the front door was open. I took photos, then packed a case while a policeman supervised. The house was a mess, with carpets ripped up and diggers in the garden. I collected my clothes, then headed to a hotel. The next day, my picture was in the tabloids with the headline, "Getting Away with Homicide." At work, I received applause from my coworkers, and Sally, my secretary, welcomed me back with a kiss on the cheek. Bob Danvers visited my office. "Good to see you back, Kevin. How are you?" "I'm fine, but my house is wrecked," I said, showing Bob the photos. "Print those out for me," Bob responded. "We'll get the lawyers on it. You deserve compensation. Where are you staying?" "I spent the night in a hotel. I'll look for a short-term flat," I replied. "No need," Bob insisted. "Wendy and I have plenty of room. Stay with us until we find you a place. Remember, you have friends here." Later, Sally offered to help find me a place. "My Aunt Helen takes in lodgers and has space," she said. "Are you sure she'd be okay with a homicide suspect?" I asked, half joking. "You're no executioner," she laughed. "I'll call her this afternoon." That evening, I visited Helen Warrender. She was in her early 50s but looked closer to 40, with piercing blue eyes and shoulder-length dark hair. Her home was nice, and the available double room convinced me to stay. I felt it was only right to ensure Helen knew everything. Her response sealed the deal. "Sally told me everything. It's disgusting how they treated you," she said sympathetically. I had forgotten what it was like to be cared for. Helen served me breakfast every morning and insisted I wasn't confined to my room. "This is a big house, Mr. Bryant, and I get lonely. Just having someone else here is nice," she said warmly. Over time, I realized staying with Helen was better than living with Lisa, except for the lack of lovemaking, which resolved itself. One night, I found Helen panicking over a leaking toilet. I turned off the water, bought a new valve, and fixed it. Helen hugged and kissed me in gratitude. Feeling her body against mine stirred feelings, and she invited me to take her to bed. We undressed and had wild lovemaking. Later, I fetched us wine, and we had another round before she fell asleep. I left her to sleep, wondering what might have happened if I had stayed. The next morning, things were normal again. That evening, I invited Helen to dinner. "Kevin, last night was a mistake. It shouldn't have happened," she said apologetically. "But it did, and it was good, wasn't it?" I asked. "Yes, but it was wrong. You're still married, and I have someone," she replied. "You have someone? Then why last night?" I asked, confused. "He's old-fashioned and won't sleep with me until we're married. But it's been so long since I felt a real man inside me. I'm sorry, Kevin. It must never happen again," she explained. "Helen, if a man has the chance to make love to you and turns it down, I doubt his sanity," I said, trying to understand. "Regardless, we have an agreement, and I will marry him. So last night must never happen again," she insisted. "I won't do anything you don't want me to do," I promised. I kept my promise, but during my 3 months with her, we had 2 more nights of passion, each followed by her guilt. The police occupied my house for over a month, and it took nearly 2 months to make it livable again. I had to replace much of the furniture, and the garden was a mess. "Looks like you haven't been celibate while I've been away," Lisa said, eyeing the new decor. "What do you mean?" I asked, surprised. "I see a woman's touch in the decoration, colors, and furniture. Not your choice," she pointed out. "I hired a designer. After the police were done, I had to refurbish or sell. Since I'd paid off the mortgage, I chose to refurbish," I explained. "Was it that bad?" she asked, genuinely concerned. "I can show you the pictures. They even checked under the concrete floor for you," I replied. "I never imagined anything like that. I'm very sorry," she said, her voice filled with regret. "It's water under the bridge now. We're divorced and free agents. That's all that matters," I said, trying to move on. "You keep saying that. How can we be divorced without me knowing? I never agreed," she said, confused. "You don't have to. You deserted me," I replied firmly. Once I moved back home, I decided to divorce Lisa. I was ready to forget her, as she had humiliated me while we were together and continued to cause problems even after leaving. My solicitor advised waiting to gather evidence that Lisa had left for good. 2 months later, he asked what I wanted from the divorce. "If you want all joint assets, it'll take longer since we'll need to show efforts to contact her. But a quicker option involves setting up a trust fund for her worth, up to half the assets," he explained. "I'll take the long route. I'm not in a hurry," I responded. Inspector Maynard found out about the divorce and had me come in for an interview, suspecting a motive. Despite the press always knowing when I was questioned, there was no evidence Lisa hadn't just left. The police had left plenty of work for me in the garden. I decided to design it, but still felt lonely. I joined a few dating sites and became popular, but most women asked if my wife would return, implying they suspected homicide. I had no problem getting lovemaking, but couldn't find anyone to live with. I looked at sites focused on casual hookups and found a profile of an 18-year-old girl named Jane. She was upfront, seeking financial help in exchange for exclusivity. I convinced myself contacting her would protect her from perverts. I finally set up a meeting at a university theater bar. When Jane arrived, she brought a friend. Jane was about 5'6", with slim hips, an ample bosom, and long, mousy brown hair. Her friend Abby was smaller with short blonde hair. Jane introduced herself and Abby, who took my picture with her phone. "Hi, I'm Kevin. Can I get you ladies a drink?" I asked. Jane wanted coffee, Abby wanted water. I got the drinks and returned to find Jane more relaxed. "Well, you've passed the physical," Jane said with a smile. "I could do with you." "You seem to have this figured out while I still can't believe I'm here," I admitted. Abby shot icy glances at me. "Are you married, Kevin? I can be very discreet," Jane asked. I'm not worried about my wife. I'm worried about you. Are you sure you want to do this? I asked, concerned. Jane looked angry. Is that why you came? To talk me out of it? She started to get up. I held her hands. Please sit down. I was just checking. Now, what do you want from me? I asked. Well, you can start by covering this, she said, placing an invoice for her accommodation on the table. It was £360 for 10 weeks. I smiled, thinking Lisa would have spent that much on shoes. I wrote a check for the full amount to the University Estates Department and handed it to her. She was surprised. The full amount? You do that for me? She asked, astonished. Yes, and I'll do it next term too, but there are conditions. You must cancel your ad and see no one else, I stated. Of course, that's understood, she agreed. Good. I'll cover your rent, food, books, and next year's tuition. In return, I expect you to focus on your studies and be available for social events, I said. Social events, huh? Never heard it called that before, Abby muttered. Jane, do we have a deal? I asked. Yes, we do, Jane confirmed. Great. Now, may I take you both to dinner? I offered. I'm not part of this deal. I'm just here for Jane's protection, Abby interjected. I appreciate that, Abby. That's why I'd like you to come. Consider it a thank you, I replied. We left and walked to my car, a Skoda, which surprised them. Jane asked if I could afford this. Of course I can. I wouldn't have offered if I couldn't, I reassured her. She was puzzled, as her dad also had a Skoda. I explained, I live according to my needs, not my means. This car is reliable and good value, leaving more money for important things. And I'm important, Jane said, looking pleased. I hope so. My wife left me, and my son moved to the city. They cost more than I'll spend on you, so don't worry, I concluded. We had a pleasant meal at an Italian restaurant in Bath. Jane talked about her family and her dislike of debt, instilled by her father. She hadn't told him what she was doing, as he believed she worked at the campus bar. At the end of the evening, we exchanged phone numbers, and I drove them back. The next day, I contacted a private investigator to look into Jane. I didn't think she was deceiving me, but I wanted to be sure. Meanwhile, I took things slowly, taking her out a couple of times a week. Despite my efforts to keep it casual, I was becoming attached. One Saturday, I took Jane shopping for clothes, then to a favorite restaurant and a nightclub. I had booked separate hotel rooms for the night. As we walked to our rooms, Jane held my arm and rested her head on my shoulder. Outside her door, I attempted to kiss her cheek, but she turned and our lips met. She kissed me back with passion. We need to talk, she said. We could, but I'd prefer my room. She opened the door and led me in, then sat me on the bed and went to the minibar. Shall we have a drink? She brought out 2 small bottles of wine and glasses. Kevin, I appreciate your help, but I thought we had a deal. We do, and I've kept my side, haven't I? Sort of, but you haven't let me keep my side. You cover my expenses, and in return, you get me exclusively. I enjoy going out with you and the dresses you buy. She unzipped her dress, let it fall, and stood before me in lingerie. I know you find me attractive, so why treat me like your daughter instead of your girlfriend? She sat beside me and held my hand. I'm just not used to this arrangement. I don't want you to feel like a hooker. I'm not a hooker. I'm in control of this relationship. If you're unhappy, we can end it now. I was trying to protect us both. I'm in my 40s and you're 19. What if you fall for someone your age? She sat on my lap and stroked my face. I don't like young men. I want a mature man like you. I really enjoy being with you and want you to ravage me. Damn right I do. We undressed and had passionate lovemaking. Afterward, we lay together, enjoying the closeness. I was struck by the difference between her youthful body and my own. Want to share a shower? She asked. Try to keep me out. We showered together, kissed and cuddled. Back on the bed, we snuggled. Did you really choose me? I asked. Of course, you weren't the first candidate. Many wanted me, but you wanted to look after me. One man wanted to inspect me first. You just helped me, Jane said, her voice sincere. Don't say it like that. It makes it sound like I'm paying for lovemaking, I replied, a bit uneasy. I know you don't see it that way. That's why you're special. And I fancied you. You were so charming at dinner. I've wanted to be with you since then, she said, hugging me. How did you see our arrangement? I asked, curious. I wanted to protect you. I desired you, but only if you wanted to be in my bed, she explained. Well, I do. So no more separate rooms, I said. We spooned and fell asleep. I woke to Jane talking. Thanks for a wonderful night. How about a big kiss? She wasn't on the phone. She kissed me, and we had lovemaking again. Afterward, I showered and returned to my room for clothes. We went to breakfast with my arm around her shoulder. We arrived looking like father and daughter, but left like lovers. On Monday, I called the inquiry agent for a report. He confirmed everything was as Jane said, with no love interest at university. Some even thought she and Abby were partners. I thanked him, closed the case, and asked for the bill. I asked Sally for details of the gym that offered company employees a discount and to book me an appointment with a personal trainer. She gave me a curious look. "Why the sudden interest in fitness?" Sally asked. "I think this old body is out of shape," I replied. "It's not that bad, and it's not that old," she said, then smiled knowingly. "You've found someone, haven't you?" "Oh my God, you have. I'm so happy for you." She kissed me on the lips, then looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry. I can't wait to tell everyone." "I'd rather you didn't, Sally. Let's see how things go first," I said cautiously. "Any girl who lets you go is mad or stupid. That's all I'll say," she responded. "Thanks, Sally. I won't tell your husband you said that," I joked. "He knows. He heard me and Aunt Helen talking about you. If I didn't love him, I would have made a move myself," she said with a grin. "He's a lucky man. Now, let's get to work," I said. She left excited, and I wondered how long she'd keep quiet. At Danvers, we were specializing in digital signal processing. Our manufacturing side was still strong, but licensing our designs was more profitable, thanks to my efforts. We hired 2 new graduates annually. Bob, now in his 60s, wanted to take a back seat. After a session with the personal trainer, Bob came into my office. "You look like you've run a mile," Bob said, chuckling. 3, actually. "What can I do for you?" I asked, catching my breath. "Your mileage expenses are costing a fortune. The company would be better off giving you a company car. Pick one, but not a Skoda," Bob said. "There's nothing wrong with Skoda. Good value for money," I replied. "But it doesn't give the impression of success if the acting CEO drives one. Get a Merc, Jag, or Beamer. Something prestigious," he insisted. "Hold on, Bob. What did you say about acting CEO?" I asked, surprised. "Wendy and I are going on a world cruise after Christmas for a couple of months. You'll be in charge while I'm away. We'll discuss the future when I return. Now, find a car. You can spend up to 80 grand, he explained. It took me 2 weeks to choose a car. I didn't tell Jane. We saw each other about 4 nights a week, and she often stayed over. The night I pulled up in the new Jag XK, she didn't recognize me until I got out. "Does this show I can support you?" I asked, teasing. "You silly man. You didn't buy this just to impress me," she said, laughing. "No, it's a company car. My boss insisted," I clarified. "Your boss must think a lot of you," she said, impressed. "I think he does. Now, where do you want to go tonight?" I asked, smiling. "I don't care as long as I'm with you. Can't we just go to your place and watch TV?" Jane asked, smiling. I felt comfortable with our relationship. We didn't need to go out. She was happy just being with me. For the first time in years, I was happy. But it couldn't last. One evening, she wasn't at our usual spot. I went to her room in the theater bar but found no sign of her. Feeling dejected, I returned to my car and found Abby waiting. "Abby? Where is she? Is she all right?" I asked, worried. She slapped me hard and started yelling. "Why couldn't you be honest? If she knew who you were, she wouldn't be heartbroken." "I have been honest. I am Kevin Bryant. Look, my driving license," I said, showing it to her. "I know you're Kevin Bryant, the man who got away with homicide. Where's your wife?" she demanded. "I don't know. She left me," I replied. "Then why can't anyone find her?" Abby pressed. "A reporter wanted to interview Jane for a story about women attracted to criminals. Jane defended you, but he showed her all the newspaper stories," Abby explained. "I'll bet he did. Stories he's written. I'm done with this. Just because Lisa disappeared doesn't mean I can't have a life. I want Jane in it," I said firmly. I got in my car and drove off. At home, I tried calling Jane multiple times, but her phone was off. I sent a text. "It's not true. Lisa left me. Nobody killed her. Please talk to me." I slept poorly and was still angry at work the next day. I barely greeted Sally. "Sally, get Guy Pearson from the company lawyers on the phone," I instructed. "Certainly. Do you want your coffee now?" she asked. "Not now, maybe later," I replied. A few minutes later, my phone rang. "I've got Guy Pearson for you," Sally said. "Kevin Bryant here. I'm still having issues with the police and press about my wife's disappearance," I explained. I told him what had happened and how it affected my life. "What do you want me to do, Mr. Bryant?" Guy asked. "Go after the police, the press, and especially the Post," I said. "I'll get started. I'll make sure it gets maximum news coverage," Guy assured me. The next day, Pearson had started. TV cameras were in my face as I opened my door. "Is it true you're suing the police?" a reporter asked. "Yes," I replied. "Don't they have a responsibility to investigate your wife's disappearance?" another reporter asked. "Yes, but they also need to get their facts right. They had no right to label my house a crime scene without evidence of a crime," I said firmly. "Are you claiming £1 million from the Post?" someone else shouted. "I don't know the amount. My solicitor is handling it," I replied. "What have they done that's worth that much?" a reporter inquired. "They've labeled me a criminal without evidence. If the Post has proof my wife is dead, the police and I would like to see it. Despite this lack of evidence, they've interfered in my private life and ruined potential relationships. What's the price of that? Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get to work," I said, getting into the Jag and driving off. At work, things were normal. After lunch, Guy Pearson called to congratulate me on the interview. That night, I saw the TV coverage, which was positive. My interview was followed by a piece on press intrusion featuring others whose lives had been ruined. 3 days later, I received an out-of-court settlement offer. No apology or admission of liability. No deal. The offer was encouraging, but the best thing happened when I got home. On a cold, dark evening, Jane was waiting outside. I hugged her, brought her inside, and made coffee. She looked nervous. "I'm sorry, Kevin. I don't know what to say," she began. "Let me start from the beginning," I said. I told her everything. By the end, my coffee was cold, and Jane had tears in her eyes. I put my arm around her, and she cried on my chest. "I'm sorry, Kevin. I should have talked to you. That man frightened me," she said, sobbing. "He'll regret that," I assured her. "He said horrible things about you and showed me those stories. When I saw you on TV challenging them, I knew I was a fool," she explained. "Abby said you were heartbroken," I mentioned. "I was. I really like you. The lovemaking is great, but it's more than that. I want to be with you, but he scared me," she admitted. I hugged her as she cried. After dinner, she brightened up and we sat together. Before bed, she spoke. "Kevin, I know I have no right to ask, but would you come home with me for Christmas? I want you to meet my dad and mom, but mainly my dad," she asked, looking hopeful. "I'd like that," I said, smiling. We went to bed and held each other, making love slowly and tenderly. "The last 6 years have been kind to you, Kevin," Jane said softly. "Sorry, what was that?" I asked, not quite catching her words. "I said you look well. You look younger and fitter than when I left," she repeated. "I decided to get in shape, dancing and cycling," I explained. "You? Dancing and cycling? Why?" she asked, surprised. "I can't help being an old dad, but I don't have to be a fat old dad," I replied. "You plan on having more kids at your age?" she teased. "I'm 48, not 84. Charlie Chaplin had kids at 82, I said. "But he had a young wife. Are you thinking of getting a young wife?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Oh my God, Kevin, you didn't get a Russian bride, did you?" she joked. She still hadn't learned her lesson. I was about to respond when the doorbell rang. It was my son, Elliot. "Hi, Dad. Is she still here?" Elliot asked as I let him in. "Yes, she's here," I replied. Elliot turned to his mother. "Elliot, how are you, darling?" Lisa asked. "Not that you care. You disappeared for 6 years and expect everything to be the same." "People move on, Mom, but I always loved you," Elliot said, his voice filled with emotion. "Just not enough to let me know you were alive," Lisa responded, hurt. "What makes you think I wanted to?" I added, unable to hold back. "So where have you been, Mother dear?" Elliot asked, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "She's been running a Spanish bordello," I interjected. "Madam Lisa." I wasn't helping, so I left them to it. Jane and I quickly got over our little upset, and she moved into my house using Elliot's old room. We drove to Doncaster, stopping for bad food along the way, and arrived at my hotel in the evening. "What are we doing here? My parents will be upset if we don't stay with them," Jane said. "I booked a room as insurance. Your parents will be happy to see you, but maybe less thrilled about me," I explained. "I'm sure they'll love you, but some insurance isn't bad," she agreed. We checked in, and Jane helped me unpack. "This executive double room is nice. We'll have to come back and try it out," she said with a wink. We drove to a semi-detached house on the outskirts of town. Jane's dad, a man in his 60s with thinning gray hair, greeted us. "Dad, how are you?" Jane exclaimed, hugging him. "I'm fine, darling. This must be Kevin. Come in, let me get a look at you," he said, shaking my hand warmly. "You're welcome, my boy. Jane's told me a lot about you. Come meet the wife." Jane's mom, about my age with shoulder-length blonde hair, greeted Jane coolly and looked past her at me. "Who's this?" she asked. "Mom, this is Kevin. He's a friend and we're sharing a house," Jane introduced me. "Sharing a house or sharing a bed?" her mom asked sharply. "Jane has her own room, Mrs. Draper," I said, offering my hand. She ignored it. Jane held my arm and rested her head on my shoulder. "Can we offer you a drink and some food?" asked Jane's dad. "I'd love a coffee, please, Mr. Draper," I replied. "Call me Derek, and this is Linda," he said. "I'll have a coffee too, Dad," Jane added. Derek laughed. "She takes after her father, Kevin. She loves good coffee." "I know. That's how we met. At the only good coffee place on campus," I said. I liked Derek. He had a good relationship with Jane. Linda was different. My charm didn't work on her, and she was always cool towards me. Christmas was pleasant, but just before New Year's Eve, a TV review of the year changed everything. This was the month when businessman Kevin Bryant took his fight for justice to the courts, claiming persecution by the police and the press, the reporter said. Linda Draper covered her mouth. "Oh my God, you're him, aren't you? Kevin Bryant, the man who got away with crime?" "No, Linda, I'm Kevin Bryant, the man whose wife left him," I corrected her. "The Post says you killed her. There's no smoke without fire. My daughter is dating a criminal," she said, horrified. "Linda, Kevin's our guest. I'm proud to live in a country where a man is innocent until proven guilty. They can't provide evidence that his wife's dead," Derek said, trying to calm her down. "You knew and didn't tell me. I've had a criminal under my roof," Linda shouted. "Technically, it's my roof, and I'm happy to have Kevin here," Derek replied firmly. I stood up. "Derek, I'm sorry, but my presence is causing problems. I'll get my stuff," I said, heading upstairs. Jane looked pained as I left. Derek and Linda were still arguing when I came back down. Jane was with me. "I'm sorry, Mom. If Kevin isn't welcome, neither am I," Jane said, her voice trembling. Derek apologized for his wife. I told him where we'd be and to call if things changed. Jane joined me and we left. At the hotel, Jane and I had some of the best lovemaking ever. The next day, I invited Derek and Linda to dinner. Derek came without Linda, and that set the pattern. Derek was willing to give me a chance, but Linda never accepted me. We never stayed in Doncaster again, but I made sure Jane could visit her dad. Derek and I became great friends, and he encouraged Jane to go on my annual skiing holiday. 2 weeks in Closters at a client's ski lodge were heavenly. Jane learned to ski quickly and rejected offers from ski instructors, preferring to stay with me. We enjoyed quiet evenings by the fire. While there, the press arrived, covering Charlie and the young princes. Jane didn't understand why I found it funny, thinking of Lisa's desire to mix with the jet set. While Bob and Wendy were on their cruise, I handled client entertainment, always bringing Jane as my hostess. She charmed the clients with her youthful good looks and understanding of business. When Bob returned, he was pleased and invited us to dinner to discuss his plans. Bob was impressed with Jane. "How did you meet her?" he asked. "On a scouting trip at the university." It was the first time I lied to Bob. "She acts mature for her age. How old is she?" he inquired. 20, I answered. "And you're what, 48? The age gap doesn't cause problems?" he asked, curious. "No, Bob, I have more in common with Jane than I did with Lisa," I replied. "Well, you look happy," Bob noted. "I am, Bob. It may not last, but I'm happy now," I admitted. Bob discussed his plans. "Our production side doesn't make much money. Your division, design and development, is the cash cow. Your last development makes more in a week than production in a year." "So, do you want to close production?" I asked. "No, but expanding manufacturing doesn't make sense. Investing in design and development does." "What's the biggest growth area?" I asked. "Digital signal processing. We're close to a marketable design." "I want you to expand that division, especially in DSP chips. I want you to run it while I focus on manufacturing and cut my time to 3 days a week. There will be an increase in salary," Bob said. In the taxi home, Jane cuddled up to me, her head on my shoulder and hands on my arm. "Did I hear correctly back there? Was my man just asked to take over most of the business?" she asked, surprised. "If by your man you mean me, then yes," I replied. "That's so cool. You must be really good at what you do," she said. "I'm good at some things," I said, taking her in my arms and kissing her. After we broke the kiss, she smiled. Some things go without saying. Lovemaking was always outstanding after entertaining clients. That night, she looked at me with pride. "I am so proud of you," she said, making me feel a surge of confidence. The police compensated me fully for the damage to my property and reputation. The Post grudgingly paid £500,000 and issued a reluctant apology. Jane suggested using the money for the Kevin Bryant bursary for promising engineering students. With Jane living with me, I covered her tuition fees, reminding me of our arrangement. By spring, I felt better than ever. My exercise regime helped me lose weight and develop a fit physique. Sally, my PA, noticed. "I'll say one thing for that young lady of yours. She's good for you," Sally remarked. "What do you mean?" I asked. "Look at you. You look 10 years younger. If having a younger partner does that, I'm getting a toy boy," she teased. "Exercise and eating well helped too. But Jane was the inspiration," I explained. "Whatever she's doing, she should keep it up. People were worried about you the last couple of years," Sally said. "Don't worry, Sally. She'll probably go home for the holidays, and I'll be back to my old self," I replied. "If she's smart, she won't leave you alone for long," Sally added. Over dinner, I asked Jane about her holiday plans. "I was going to ask if Danvers hires students for holiday work," she said. "Normally, we hire engineering students. Are you looking for a job? I thought you'd go home," I said. "I don't think I could take more than a week with my mother. I'd like to stay here and work," she explained. "I'll talk to the office manager about any vacancies," I promised. Jane's work ethic impressed me. Unlike Elliot, who avoided work, Jane sought experience. The next morning, I mentioned it to Bob Danvers, who was keen on the idea. "We depend on office staff as much as engineers. We should start training them. Do you have someone in mind?" Bob asked. Jane asked if we took on business trainees, I said. "Tell Mrs. Pritchard, the office manager, to draw up a training scheme for Jane," Bob instructed. That summer was bliss. We spent days together and went biking to country parks. I loved riding behind her, to admire her divine hips. When term started, it was hard to let her return to university. By July, Danvers launched our first DSP chip, which was an immediate success. We outsourced production but integrated our design into customers' technology, earning a percentage of each chip produced. This increased our income with minimal costs, making us part of the knowledge economy. We hired more graduates and started our next project. With my personal life thriving and the company doing well, the only dark spot was Elliot. He seemed to believe I was involved in his mother's disappearance and barely spoke to me except to criticize. He was serious about a girl and planning to marry, but I had never met her and doubted I'd be invited to the wedding. A loud voice brought me out of my thoughts. "Do you have any idea of the damage you did?" Elliot was losing his temper with Lisa. "I know about the police investigation, but that wasn't my fault," Lisa responded defensively. "It was your fault. You disappeared without a word. We were suspicious and you didn't even contact me to say you were okay," Elliot shouted. "You didn't need me. You moved to London. Your father and I hadn't had a proper relationship for years, which is why he never tried to find me," Lisa retorted. "Of course I needed you. I went into finance because of you. I wanted you to be proud of me, to see my success. But you weren't here," Elliot replied, his voice filled with frustration. "You had your father to talk to," Lisa said, trying to defend herself. "No, I didn't. You destroyed that too. I blamed him for your disappearance. I even thought the police might be right. I've hardly spoken to Dad since you left," Elliot admitted, his voice breaking. "Oh, darling, you can't really believe your father killed me," Lisa started to cry. "I didn't know what to believe. I had no one to help me. I even tried to stop him from divorcing you," Elliot said, his voice softening. "How could he divorce me without my knowing about it?" Lisa asked, bewildered. "The divorce came at a tough time for me, coinciding with Jane's graduation and the end of our arrangement. Guy Pearson handled the divorce well, but my relationship with Jane was another matter. I had fallen totally in love with her despite the age difference and feared the end. Jane noticed my distraction, but I blamed it on the divorce. I encouraged her job search, wanting the best for her. When she received a job offer from KPMG, she came to me with the letter. "Kevin, I've been offered a job at KPMG in their accountancy division," she said excitedly. "That's great news. After their graduate training, you'll be in high demand," I replied, trying to sound enthusiastic. "But it's in London," she said, her voice faltering. "You'll enjoy the fast pace and nightlife," I said, avoiding her eyes. "So you want me to take it?" she asked, her voice rising. "I want what's best for you," I said, trying to keep my composure. "Oh, for God's sake, Kevin, do you want me to go to London?" she asked, tears welling up in her eyes. "Our arrangement is ending. You should do what's best for you," I said, my voice cracking. "Is that all I mean to you? Maybe I should go to London," she said, starting to sob uncontrollably. I put my arm around her as we sat on the sofa. "Of course you mean more to me, But I thought you'd want to find a man your own age and live life fully, I said, tears welling up in my eyes. Kevin Bryant, you can be so stupid. I don't want a man my own age. I want to get out in the world, but with you. I don't want to leave you. If you want me to go, I will, she said, her voice trembling. You'd give up this chance to stay with me? I asked, stunned. You're 48. That's not old. And I'm in love with you. Can I move out of the spare room now? Will you take me to bed and show me how much you love me? She asked, her eyes pleading. I picked her up and carried her to the bedroom. We lay on the bed, undressing and touching each other. After another passionate session, I asked, Did you enjoy it? Oh, yes, it was unbelievable. How about you? She replied, smiling. It was amazing. But I don't want to do it all the time. I miss the holding and hugging, I said. How do you always know the nicest things to say? She asked, getting off the bed and kissing me. I forgot to tell you. I've had another job offer from the place where I worked during the holidays. The money's not as good, but I like the staff. Bob Danvers offered you a job? He didn't tell me, I said, surprised. Yes, and I think I might take it. The guy who runs the design and development side is a real hunk. I could go for him, she said, teasing. You're really going to work at Danvers and stay with me? I asked, hardly daring to believe it. I've wanted to stay with you since our first Christmas. I can't wait for you to be my boss. You could punish me if I did anything wrong, she said, giggling. I couldn't believe my fears were groundless, and the wonderful girl I loved was deeply in love with me. For the first time, I felt urgency about finalizing my divorce. I trusted Guy to handle it, but was surprised when he said I'd have to go to court to explain our efforts to find Lisa. Guy said it would be easier if I set aside half my assets for Lisa to claim. No way, Guy. She abandoned me and left her bank cards. It's been 3 years, I protested. Sorry, Kevin, but you'll have to go before the judge, Guy insisted. So I ended up in county court explaining our attempts to find Lisa. 3 years of advertising wasn't enough. The court required another year of ads in European countries. On my way out of court, Detective Inspector Maynard confronted me. Good morning, Mr. Bryant. You've finally given me something, Maynard said smugly. What are you talking about? I asked, confused. Motive, Mr. Bryant. Half your net worth must be a couple £100,000. People have been murdered for less, he stated. The only reason I want my wife to return is to see you apologize for mistreating me, I shot back. The file is still open, Mr. Bryant, and I'm patient, Maynard warned. You'll wait a long time because she isn't dead, I retorted, and walked off. The next year was spent advertising in Britain and Europe, but we got no response from Lisa. The court awarded me a decree nisi, becoming absolute in 6 weeks. For the first time in 24 years, I was free. I considered marrying Jane, but we were happy as we were. I was the happiest I'd ever been, except for my strained relationship with Elliot. He recently married Christine, who invited me to the wedding. She tried hard to mend our relationship, but it was a struggle. Mother, you didn't expect nothing to change after you deserted us. We've moved on, and Dad had to divorce you, Elliot said firmly. But surely I have some say. I was part of the marriage, Lisa argued. You had your say the day you walked out, Elliot defended me for the first time since Lisa left. So what happened, Kevin? How did you manage to divorce me? Lisa asked, turning to me. Elliot was right. You did the job by walking out. The court insisted I give you every chance to claim your share, I explained. And did you? She pressed. Yes, I advertised in Le Monde, Le Figaro, El Pais, La Repubblica, and all the British press. When you didn't respond, the court decided you weren't interested, I replied. So if we're divorced, what's happened to my share? Lisa inquired. The court concluded you abandoned all assets, leaving no your share, I said. I put 21 years into our marriage, and now I'm left with nothing, she sobbed. You trapped me in this marriage and gave it little more than 11 years. Since Elliot went to that school, you became dissatisfied with me. You had your share in clothes alone. There are still thousands of pounds worth of clothes and shoes upstairs. Take them whenever you want, I said, trying to stay calm. Lisa sat down sobbing, rocking back and forth. I exchanged glances with Elliot. Eventually, the crying stopped, and we could talk again. Why did you come back, Lisa? I asked gently. I was in trouble. You were right about those people, Kevin. They used me. I left with Henry, who only wanted me to get at you. Once the police and press lost interest in you, he ditched me. An older man took me to Barbados, but after a couple of years, he replaced me with a younger woman. I hitched a ride to Spain and ended up in Malaga with a nice Englishman who turned out to be a criminal. When things went bad, I ran back to the only place I knew I'd be safe. I came back to the only man I've ever loved, she confessed. And you expected me to welcome you with open arms? I asked, incredulous. No, I knew you'd be angry. But I hoped we could salvage our marriage. We loved each other once. I hoped I could make you love me again. But now I see there's nothing left to salvage, she said, her voice breaking. Yes, I am angry. We loved each other once, or at least I loved you. Even though you trapped me into marriage, I still loved you. I would have married you anyway. I loved you until you sided with that parasite Henry against me. Then I realized I was just a meal ticket to you. After that, I didn't care what you did. Oh, Kevin, you were never just a meal ticket. I've loved you since school. Yes, I got pregnant on purpose because I was scared I'd lose you once you got a job. I wanted you to use your abilities better. I looked at people like Henry and thought, my Kevin is smarter than you. But you stuck to your principles and worked for that small electronics company instead of making real money. When I tried to make you see that, you turned your back on me. I tried to get your attention by dating other men, hoping you'd challenge me. But you didn't. So everything was my fault? Even when you were cheating, it was my fault? No, Kevin, I was wrong. I thought success was all about money, but it's not. Look at you, still living in the same house, happy. I could have been happy too if I hadn't obsessed over you becoming a millionaire like we dreamed. Elliot just looked at Lisa and laughed. You really don't know, do you? He said to Lisa. Of course she didn't know. No one would have expected it. I certainly didn't. When Bob Danvers walked into my office and laid the paperwork on my desk, it took me a couple of readings to understand. A large telecom company had made a bid for Bob's company, offering way over the market price. I had two questions. Are you going to take it? And what does this have to do with me? The deal depends on you signing a 5-year contract. They know you've generated most of the income and want you to stay. They're offering a huge salary and bonuses. Are you going to sell? I want to enjoy retirement with Wendy. This deal provides an excellent retirement package. I sense a but coming. You know me too well. The but is about the production side of the company. You transformed this company, but I founded it with a focus on production. The new company doesn't want that. They want your side of the business. They'll likely close or sell off the production side in a year or two. I've known those workers most of their lives. I can't do that to them. So you won't sell, and I won't get a banker's salary. I can live with that, but I don't want to work forever, Kevin. I want to retire. No, I need an alternative buyer who loves this company and will look after the workforce. That's when it clicked for me. Hold on, Bob. I don't have that kind of money, and I doubt I could raise it, I said, feeling overwhelmed. Bob waved the bid documents at me. These people are offering way over the odds. If I can guarantee the production side keeps going, I'll sell for a market valuation and keep 15%. The income could top up my pension, he explained. So I'm supposed to raise 85% of the company's worth? I don't see it, Bob, I replied, skeptical. Bob got excited. Yes, you can. I've talked to the bank. Use your house, which is worth $400,000, and another $100,000 as surety. The bank loans you the money to buy the business. Once you own 85%, you transfer the debt to the company. The bank pays me, and the company pays back the bank over time. You won't end up with a mortgage. Talk it over with Jane tonight. She'll confirm it's legit. The bank will send someone tomorrow at 2 to discuss it. Bob knew me too well. He knew I couldn't turn it down. As he left, he called out to my PA, Sally. The future owner of the company could use a coffee, he said. When Sally brought the coffee, I was still pacing, trying to take it all in. She put the coffee down. Is it true, Kevin? Are you buying the company? She asked, excitement in her voice. It looks like it, Sally, I replied. I'm so pleased, she said and kissed me. I can't wait to tell everyone. They've been worried about what happens if Bob retires. Don't tell them yet, Sally. Wait until the deal is confirmed, I cautioned. Jane and I discussed it over dinner, and she confirmed everything Bob said was true. It seemed like free money to me. So, Jane explained. Basically, when you transfer the debt to the company's value falls accordingly. The profit will drop due to servicing the debt. But with rising profits, you won't notice. As the debt is paid off, the company's value will rise. It's not free money, but it protects you if the company fails, she said. That year, I got divorced and became the owner of the company I'd worked for. Bob and Wendy went on another world cruise to celebrate. Sally was right. When we announced the deal, the shop floor cheered, and many employees shook my hand. So what's so funny? Asked Lisa. You keep going on about Dad not being a millionaire. Elliot, there's no need for that, I told him. Well, it's true, Dad. If she wanted you to be a millionaire, she should have stuck around, Elliot said. Are you saying your father, who still works for that tin pot electronics company, is wealthy? Lisa asked, incredulous. First, that company is a leader in the knowledge economy, selling know-how worldwide. Second, he doesn't work for Danvers Electronics. He owns it. He's a millionaire, at least on paper, Elliot declared. Lisa was visibly shocked. She just sat there, mouth open. Eventually, she looked at me. But you still live in this house? Why, when you could afford something better? She asked. The house suits me fine. I don't need anything bigger, I replied. And you still drive that old Skoda? She inquired. No, I drive a Jag now, I said. Elliot said he had to go, and for the first time in more than 6 years, gave me a hug. I'm sorry, Dad. If the invitation is still open, I'll see you tomorrow. Christine was planning to come anyway, he said. Of course it's still open, but you've blown your chance of being best man, I joked. We laughed, and I walked him to the door. He checked if I'd be okay with Lisa. I assured him I was fine. I went back inside and found Lisa inspecting the house. She picked up a photo of me with Jane. Who's the girl, Kevin? She asked. That's Jane Draper, I replied. I don't think I know any Drapers, she said. No, you don't, I confirmed. From this picture, she looks like your girlfriend, she noted. No, she's not my girlfriend, she's my... I hesitated. Kevin, have you gone mad? She looks young enough to be your daughter, she exclaimed. After divorcing Lisa, I wasn't in a hurry to marry again. Jane never mentioned marriage, and we were content as we were. We lived like a married couple, so without children, there seemed no need to change things. Our life together was blissful, and we had no money problems. One night, Jane surprised me with her feelings. Kevin, would you like us to have a baby? She asked, catching me off guard. I hadn't thought about it. Don't you think I'm too old for that? I asked. No, you're young for your age, and I want a family, she said. I got out of bed. I don't want to bring fatherless babies into this world, I said. As I walked around the bed, I saw her face drop and tears form. I knelt beside her. Jane, will you marry me? I asked. She looked puzzled, then smiled as she realized what I meant. You mean we can start a family? She asked, hope in her eyes. Only once we're married. So, will you marry me? I repeated. Yes, you know I will, she said, tears of joy streaming down her face. She pulled me back into bed. The next day, we went to the jeweler's. Jane tried to involve her mother in wedding planning, but despite an apology, her mother still believed the post and thought I was an executioner. Her father was thrilled and offered help. Jane delayed setting a date for a few weeks, puzzling me. Then she presented a document listing all my assets for a prenuptial agreement. I challenged her. Why a prenuptial? What do you have to protect? Nothing, Kevin, but you do. I want people to know I'm marrying you for love, not money. If we break up, I don't want anything I didn't contribute. I'm not having it. What's mine is yours. I love you. That's why I want this. I want everyone to know I'm marrying you for love, not money. I don't care what people think. I want to marry you. Prenuptials aren't legally enforceable here. I know, but the court will consider what we each brought to the marriage. I don't want to argue. If we don't do this, I can't marry you. Reluctantly, I agreed. After signing the agreement and listing my assets, Jane set the date. Elliot reacted predictably, accusing Jane of being after my money. When I asked him to be my best man, he laughed and doubted he'd even attend the wedding. Bob Danvers eagerly accepted. The last thing I expected was Lisa's return. Jane is 24, we're in love, and I'm marrying her tomorrow. So it's true. There's no fool like an old fool. What do you mean by that? You become wealthy, and a pretty young woman wants to marry you. She's after your money. We've been together for over 5 years. If she was a gold digger, she had plenty of time to trap me. We have a prenuptial agreement that excludes my current assets from any divorce settlement. If she leaves, she won't be better off than when I met her. That was her idea. So you're getting married, and I have nothing to show for 21 years of marriage. I'm supposed to accept that while you give everything to a young bimbo? I'll contest the divorce settlement. Go ahead, but you're not going to because you need my help. Your posh friends don't want to know you, and you dumped the others when you left me. The only experience you have is being a wife and stay-at-home mom. You might have some cash, but nowhere to go and no one to turn to. You're an old hooker who never saved a dime. You're as useful as jugs on a pig. Lisa sat with her head in her hands, sobbing. Yes, you're right. I've been a fool, and now you hate me for it. I'm really sorry, Kevin. Stop it. I don't hate you and never have. I never said I wouldn't help you, but I will expect something in return for my help. After explaining what I wanted from her, I made some phone calls. First, I booked Lisa into a hotel. Then I called Derek Draper. Derek, how are you? Couldn't be better, son. What can I do for you? You're not planning a last-minute stag night, are you? No, nothing like that. Is Linda with you? Oh, yes, but she's not planning to come to the wedding. She's going shopping instead. Well, I might change your mind. If I give you details of the shops where I have an account, do you think you can get Linda to buy a new outfit for the wedding? I can get her to the shops if you give me something that will get her to the wedding. I explained my plan, and he agreed to help. I then contacted several journalists, inviting them to the wedding reception, except for the Post. I had a disturbed night, feeling apprehensive. By morning, I was excited when Bob Danvers arrived. Come on, Kevin, I'm taking you out to breakfast. We went to a local hotel and discussed the day's plan. Bob asked if I had any worries. I don't think so, Bob. Just Jane changing her mind and Lisa. Jane adores you. Why worry about Lisa? She walked out on you. She's back. She just turned up yesterday. She didn't like that we're divorced and that she got nothing out of it. I think I've worked out a deal with her. I'm worried about spoiling Jane's big day. I explained my plan to Bob, and he agreed to handle Lisa while I was on my honeymoon. We got ready and went to Audley Manor. Everything was going well. The press arrived early, and Bob told them to stay out of sight until the reception. Guests started arriving, and Bob and I took our positions. As the seats filled, I saw Linda Draper waving at me, beaming and showing off her outfit. I gave her a thumbs up. The wedding march began, and Jane walked down the aisle with her father. She paused when she saw her mother in the front row, then continued to my side. How did you get my mother here? She whispered. Tell you later. I whispered back. The service began, and I was nervous during the speak now or forever hold your peace part, but everything went smoothly. When Jane lifted her veil, I restrained myself to just a kiss. During the photographs, she squeezed my arm. All right, how did you get Mum here? And when did she get that outfit? I've never seen it before. There were some unexpected developments yesterday, and I had to make some changes. It might take some attention away from our day. I don't care. I've got you, and my mom and dad were here to see it. When the photos were taken, we returned to the hall for the reception. After the meal, Derek made a speech about his daughter and welcomed me into the family. Bob Danvers, as best man, gave a humorous speech. Then it was my turn. I shared how I met Jane and expressed my love for her. Then I addressed the crowd. I know Bob has thanked everyone for coming, especially those who traveled far. But there's one person who hasn't been mentioned. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lisa, my ex-wife. She has come a long way to be here today. Lisa, please stand up. Lisa stood, and the press surrounded her, shouting questions and taking photos. After a minute, I intervened. Gentlemen, remember this is Jane's and my wedding. Please leave us to continue our celebrations. Mr. Danvers will provide her contact details, I said firmly. The hall was filled with shocked faces, but things soon returned to normal, and the party continued. Jane and I left for the hotel as we were flying to St. Lucia the next morning. This night was special. I was welcoming my new wife to our bed. I was ready first and waited for her. She emerged from the bathroom, walking deliberately, dressed in a white lace basque, white stockings, and her wedding shoes. She held a small packet in her left hand. Kneeling on the bed, she lifted my chin, kissed me, and showed me the packet of contraceptive pills before discarding them in the bin. Returning to the bed, she kissed me again. Okay, Mr. Bryant, let's make babies, she said with a smile. Sure, Mrs. Bryant, I replied, feeling a surge of joy. What did you call me? She asked playfully. Mrs. Bryant, I repeated. Say it again. I need to get used to it, she said, her eyes sparkling. Okay, Mrs. Bryant, I said, pulling her close for another kiss. After our physical engaging night, I did manage to give Jane the baby we wanted, and we enjoyed being parents so much that we had another child. Our children and Elliot's 2 kids are all close in age, making family gatherings interesting. Christine has been great for Elliot, who took a pay cut to work for me. Our relationship has improved significantly. Being close to those affected by his decisions has made Elliot a better and happier man. However, his relationship with Lisa has suffered. Only Christine's insistence on the importance of a grandma keeps them in touch. Lisa sold her story to the Sunday papers, earning over £100,000. Surprisingly, it painted me in a good light regarding her foreign escapades. She named names and stirred up trouble for others, but not for me. The money didn't last long, but Lisa found a wealthy older man who married her. Jane's mother hasn't bought a copy of the Post since our wedding. She's now proud of her daughter and me. She and Derek moved closer to be near their grandchildren. Derek and I get along very well. I'm as happy as can be with a lovely young wife, 3 children, and a son who looks after our interests. My younger children think I'm a superhero. Life has been eventful, and may it continue to be so.